guys. I know it's like approaching later in the day, and this is the time when everyone kind of zones out. So I'm going to try to make this a little bit fun, and I've also met a lot of people. I think I've answered a lot of questions today about the program, but hopefully it's not too redundant. So anyway, I am Julia Barrett. And whenever I'm at these conferences, I'm always kind of wondering, like, why am I supposed to listen to this person? Why should I trust this person in any way, shape, or form? And I wanted to start with telling a little bit about my background and before I arrived at e-Residency. As you can see here, I like danger. And I actually really like this photo because I took it in, I had it taken of me in Ethiopia, where it's kind of a tradition. So many, many years ago, the hyenas of Harar, Ethiopia, would venture into the town and eat small children and domestic animals. So the town started feeding them on the outskirts. So this was kind of an interesting, innovative solution to the problem. So every night they would feed the hyenas, and then they would also put out their meat scraps as the hyenas patrolled the walled city at night. And so it's become this tradition of innovation in this small rural town in Ethiopia. And then also, interestingly, these entrepreneurial Ethiopians have turned it into a tourist attraction. So I really like that. I think that's really cool. As you can see, I've worked at a few companies. I even left some off, so you don't know how old I am. But what I really like is working with entrepreneurs from everywhere. And having spent time in Silicon Valley, I obviously became well acquainted with Startup Grind, which is a great organization. And I also kind of realized that innovation happens everywhere. And being in Silicon Valley, it actually started to it's very frustrating, actually, being in Silicon Valley, because it's a very different experience, a very different environment than anywhere else. And I really enjoy being in other communities outside of Silicon Valley and experiencing that innovation everywhere. So I love Barcelona. I think it's a really great place. All that to say that I left Silicon Valley to move to Washington, D.C. And I started working more closely with the public sector in the US, which, as everyone knows, changed drastically about 2 years ago. So that brought me to Estonia. So I am a refugee of Donald Trump. That's how I am perceived in the US. I moved to Estonia because e-Residency is a really interesting program. E-Residency was started a couple years ago to enable entrepreneurs anywhere to utilize some of the digital services that Estonia has created for its own people. And to kind of understand that, you need to kind of work yourself backwards here. Let's do a little geography and history. I trust that most people in Europe know where Estonia is, but outside of the US, or outside of the EU, like, people really don't know. When I told people I was moving to Estonia in the US, a lot of my friends tried to act cool, and they were like, oh yeah, oh, you're gonna go work at Estonia, cool. What do they do? And I'm like, no, it's a country. Like, what do you, I'm like, I'm not that cool. Like, it's not some startup you've never heard of. It's a country. But anyway, we're up there, tiny. And I think most incredibly, we only have 1.3 million people, which is far less than the population of Barcelona. So that's something to be said. I already had one conversation with a Finnish girl today, but Estonian, the language, is another kind of challenge in Estonia connecting with the rest of the world. Estonian is notoriously difficult. These words are crazy words. My favorite being the bottom here, and I'll probably say this wrong, but no Estonians here, so olikot means beer belly. Obviously. So that's another kind of differentiator for Estonia. But what led really to the creation of a program like this is this history of being occupied, this history of not being in full control, not feeling empowered. And when Estonia regained independence in 1991, they launched a program called Tiger Leap. And Tiger Leap's goal was to help Estonia advance itself many, many decades into the future, so to speak, because they'd missed out on a lot of the development that their neighbors had experienced. So Operation Tiger Leap, and by the way, this picture, it was sort of random, but not. It's a quarry that's now flooded that the Soviets built in, I believe, 1938, and was it's kind of a notorious, it's an iconic image that just represents occupation to Estonians. Like when Estonians see this quarry building, they're like, yeah, down with the Soviets. So Tiger Leap, it's appropriate, Tiger Leap. So Tiger Leap, the goal was to empower all of Estonia and to connect all of Estonia with the rest of the world. Awesome. Projects starting with digitized taxes, digitized parking, the creation of digital signature, which is, just remember that one because that comes back, it's relevant to e-Residency. So the ability to sign documents online. Moving forward, X-Road, which this is not the correct way to describe it, but some people refer to it as blockchain. So kind of early stage blockchain. It's not truly, but it's basically, they built the infrastructure to start connecting all of their services. So, you know, your records, your hospital records are connected with your parking records, which are connected with when you walk into the grocery store and scan your card for a discount. It's all, you know, you've got one record of you. So all of your data all in one place. Then in 2014, they launched e-Residency in order to share some of those e-services with the rest of the world. And I think from the start, you know, it was early stage program. They weren't really sure what they were able to offer, but they knew that they were able to provide people with digitized signatures, encrypted documents, and they had a really good infrastructure built to enable entrepreneurs to create companies easily and digitally online. So they knew they had something that they could share with the rest of the world and start encouraging people to explore moving their businesses to Estonia. Fast forward 2017, one of the challenges we still face, banking. We worked really hard to change laws within Estonia to enable banks to allow online bank accounts. The opening of a bank account online. And unfortunately, the agreement with the banks was that if we push for these legal changes, you'll treat e-residents just as you treat other residents. Unfortunately, due to the banking climate in Northern Europe, they're very scared right now. So it's still, just to be very, very transparent, and I'll get back to this later, banking is still a challenge for us. So we're working on that one. But anyway, e-Residency is essentially the ability for anyone to access those e-services that Estonia has created. It's very simple. It's literally an ID card, just like this, and only real, not fake like this. And basically, when you apply for your e-Residency, you receive this digital ID that you plug into. You also get a little card reader that you plug into your laptop, and that enables you minimally to sign things digitally and also encrypt your documents. So a lot of, like the use case there, a lot of VCs and board members like to use that, especially if they're interacting with EU companies or Estonian companies. So that's useful, that's nice. We're working on trying to figure out how to add a little bit more value at that stage. But what it really does is open the door to create a business in Estonia. So based on our values, which is really the core of all of this, hold on, I'm going to come back to creating a business, but e-Residency is really about helping Estonia communicate its values with the rest of the world too. So the whole program is really built on being inclusive. So we're really trying to help entrepreneurs in any country work with the EU. We also really believe in, oh no, where did I go? No, legitimate. Okay, also some countries, I'm not calling out names, but some countries also have certain bureaucratic issues or transparency issues. And Estonia is able to provide other countries or entrepreneurs in other countries with a more trusted environment. So if you want to appear as an EU company or run yourselves as an EU company, this enables you to do it. And you're protected by the legal frameworks that Estonians enjoy. And again, transparency, it's really important. In fact, what's really bizarre to me as an American, when I plug my digital ID in, you can actually see every single time anyone has accessed your data, which is somewhat scary, but also kind of reassuring because it's all there. It's very transparent. And that's just the way that Estonia governs itself. I was just in Ukraine a few days ago, and a Ukrainian asked me, do you have a lot of problems with corruption in Estonia? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, this is a really transparent country, and this is why. So it's a really safe and unique environment to operate in. So creating an Estonian company, comes with all of that, all of those values behind it, and so that you are able to create an open and trusted a company in an open and trusted environment. You're able to access the EU market. Above and beyond anything, though, I think that in the EU, there's a huge value if you're location independent. So if you live in Barcelona right now, because it's amazing, but maybe you want to try out, I don't know, Berlin this summer, your company kind of follows you anywhere. Or if you want to go to Singapore, you can maintain that company, and you can conduct all of your business online digitally. So that's really nice. All of these e-services kind of enable that. And that's why I think right now, and I haven't really figured out how to convey this publicly yet, but I'm just going to try it out on you guys. But previously, because I'm still new to the program, previously I think we were really pushing e-residency for everyone. But I think that there are some use cases that work really, really well. And like I said, if you're location independent and you're moving around a lot, this is one way to enable you to maintain an EU company without having to reincorporate in several different jurisdictions over the course of your company's life. It's really great for freelancers, consultants, sole proprietors. And this comes back to the banking, which anyone who's talked to me today has probably heard me already talk about that. Banks in Estonia love sole proprietors. They love consultants. They love freelancers. Anybody who's just getting started with their company, it's a really good use case across the board for us. Deepak, good old Deepak, he's a little bit different than most of our use cases, but he actually spent some time in Estonia. The one thing that e-residency does not provide is it's not a travel document, and it doesn't provide you with tax residency. But Deepak spent enough time in Estonia to know that this was something that worked for him. He couldn't get VC funding being from India. He was having a hard time doing that, and so he came to Estonia and was able to raise funding from EU and US investors based on his EU status. So that's just one use case that worked out. Arzu is probably my favorite story, and because I like to travel. But Arzu had a tourism company in Turkey, and when PayPal shut down working with Turkey, she kind of ran into a problem there. At the same time, Turkey was obviously having problems with tourism, and so Arzu really thought that she was going to have to shut down business, but she discovered e-residency and was able to recreate her business in Estonia, and now has actually expanded to do tours in Tallinn, as well as, I think, something like 15 other European cities, which is really cool. So this has kind of enabled her to not only continue her business, but expand. And in fact, she's going to school now in Tallinn, which is really crazy. This guy, Oleg, I keep looking up there, by the way, and I don't know why. But Oleg created his company because he really needed to enable his customers to trust him. He was from Russia, and truth is that it's difficult sometimes for Russians to work with other nations. And so he was able to create this company that imbibes trust and also run his business from Sweden now. So it's enabled him to not only be location independent, but also have a customer base that he may not have been able to reach otherwise. Ferry, I don't, I do not know the fintech world as well as I should at this point. Crypto and blockchain kind of escape me, but Peter plays in that world. And one thing that Estonia has done pretty well is opened up all of its licensing requirements. So it's kind of tried to figure out and enable a lot of crypto entrepreneurs, a lot of fintech entrepreneurs to build their businesses. And so it's something to explore if you are moving in that direction. It may or may not be the right fit for you, but it's something to explore. So why does Estonia do all of this? And it's kind of interesting. So, you know, no country opens its borders without good reason. And for Estonia, opening its digital borders is just as meaningful. Again, it's a small country, 1.3 million people. And for Estonia to grow, I think we need to start thinking about educating people about Estonia and kind of expanding on the definition of community in Estonia. So just as in startup world, we've got, you know, an amazing startup community across the globe, I think Estonia has the ability to create kind of an Estonian community across the globe, and empowering businesses to do business with Estonia and helping anybody learn about tourism in Estonia. So it's a very innovative idea. You know, I look at Estonia as a really interesting startup, and that's part of what attracted me to moving to Estonia, which is very cold and not my ideal climate. I like palm trees. Barcelona's perfect. But it's a really interesting and innovative atmosphere. And the government has done a lot to try to help its people. I think something like 95% of all government administration work, you know, for the people, is done online. I think there's a joke, I can't remember what the third thing is, but there are only like 3 things that you're not able to do online in Estonia: get married, divorced, and then there's another one. And everybody laughs and is like, but why? You could do that digitally. And it's like what you shouldn't do digitally. Like, you should probably not get married online. You should probably make that real. But everything else is done digitally. So for Estonia, there's value in people just knowing who Estonia is, people interacting with Estonian companies. And I think in the new year, we'll be working on this a lot more, but helping Estonian companies grow globally. So if you have a consulting business or a freelancing business, anything of the like, you know, we want to try to help you work with Estonian companies because they need to grow too. And I think it's very difficult being so geographically separated from the rest of the world to understand the value and the benefits of working with other countries. You know, something that the average Estonian entrepreneur outside of the startup space may not think about. So there are a lot of opportunities for e-commerce and a lot of other fun things. Let's see, how to join. Okay, so this was a question I got a lot out at my table, so I'm gonna cover this. But to become an e-resident, it's relatively easy. You go online, as one might expect to do anything digitally. You go online and you submit all of your information, and it costs 100 euros. Within 30 days, you'll hear back from the Estonian Police and Border Guard. That's who actually manages this whole digital ID process and issues it. And once you're approved, which is highly likely, don't worry, you will collect your digital ID at an embassy or a consulate, and you're able to choose the location. I think for Spain, the closest is Madrid, but you can also choose Paris, Berlin, many other places, and other places across the globe. And you pick up your ID and run through some fingerprinting, other fun things. It's very, very much a police and border guard process. But that's it. And then you're off to the races. And it's up to you to go back online and start to register your company. And in order to register your company, you do need to have an address in Estonia, but the government has recognized that that might be impossible and now provides licenses to service providers, like Leap-In, who was mentioned earlier, to actually provide you with a virtual address. So you don't actually need to come to Estonia. You can work with a service provider to provide you with a virtual address and virtual contact, everything that you need in Estonia. And they can actually even act on your behalf to open a bank account for you. So it's really, really great, which, from a program standpoint, I'm really excited that we're able to kind of give that back to the Estonians too. So service providers can provide all sorts of different services. And I'm currently in the process of rebuilding our marketplace, which will also promote different, like legal, marketing, sales, all sorts of different software, not just from Estonia, but some of our neighboring countries, and also our e-residents. So if you do have a company and you are an e-resident already, let me know. I might be able to squeeze you in there. And if you're not, it is an opportunity, because I'd like to start cross-promoting and helping our e-residents connect with each other and network and partner. So that's really, it's kind of the never-ending ecosystem. So we're going to take this as far as we possibly can. I'm trying to think. I was trying to shorten this a little bit to get everybody caught back up on time here. I'm trying to think. The biggest question that I received today was around taxation, and so I'm going to talk about that until my time runs out. But I will say this, that Estonia is not a tax haven. Like I said before, you will not gain tax residency with e-residency. You will still need to pay your personal taxes wherever your residency lies. However, if you do create a company in Estonia and you generate revenue that you can attribute to Estonia, or that you do attribute to Estonia, you'll pay corporate taxes based only on that revenue. If you don't generate any income, you will not be penalized. But I think that's it. I'm getting flashing lights, so that's it. So that was the biggest question that I received on taxation. I am easy to find. I'll be around for another half an hour or so, and I'm happy to answer more questions. That's all.